Hello everybody, welcome back to another Beer review. Today we got something a little bit different. It is the Proper Job Cornish IPA from Cornwall, England. Powerfully hopped, as you can see there on the bottle, is from the St. Austell Brewery, and it is a real ale. Not one of those fake mofos that we've been drinking in the past. That's not really 100% true. We're going to be talking about what a real ale is today on BLA. The Proper Job, like the name by the way, very British sounding, comes from the St. Austell Brewery located in Cornwall in the southwest corner of England. And just like Fuller's, which we did a while back, St. Austell is not just a brewery, they're an entire hospitality undertaking with over 170 hotels and pubs throughout the southwest of England. They specialize in cask fermented ales, more on that later, and although having been around since 1851, St. Austell has only really found success in the last 15 years or so. Back in 1999, for example, St. Austell was pumping out around 15,000 barrels per year. Nowadays, that number's up to 80,000. 1999 was also the year that they produced a small batch seasonal beer in honor of the solar eclipse that happened that summer. That beer would later be known as Tribute and is now the most popular beer St. Austell brews. Quite a proper job they've done, if you do ask me. So let's look at this puppy. It is very golden in color. It's got a nice kind of golden copper color. Look at these bubbles shooting up in there. You guys, you seeing that? Look at that.
Oh my gosh, just look at it.
The car is not perfect.
Just look at it.
Nice soft head on it. Smells really, really nice. Nice floral characteristics, a little bit of like grapefruit smell going on in there. Let's test this baby out, huh? It's not bad. Getting a very, very typical IPA kind of a flavor, very heavy on the hops, a lot of floral. It's a little bit sour, quite a good amount of bitterness going on, not too much sweetness. It's very refreshing, pretty light and easy drinking beer, although there is quite a bit of bitterness to it. So if you're not a big fan of really bitter beers, then just be forewarned. It's not overpoweringly bitter or anything like that, but it's definitely, it's good IPA bitter, you know what I mean? So this is an IPA. I'm not going to go into the whole story about IPAs again. I already did an IPA from... So if you want to go check that video out, click up here and I'll give you the whole rundown of what an IPA is and stuff like that. But today what we're going to be talking about are real ales. So what a real ale is pretty much a cast or bottle conditioned or fermented ale. So in due time, I will be doing a video on the entire brewing process. Just know that during fermentation, yeast eats sugars in the beer and poops out alcohol and CO2. So normally today, beers get their carbonation through a process what is called forced carbonation. Pretty much what happens is that after regular fermentation, the beer gets put in a big old vessel or even just a keg essentially, and carbon dioxide is pumped in at a really, really high pressure, pretty much just packing a bunch of carbon dioxide into the beer. And what happens is that the CO2 molecules will actually bind into the beer and cause it to carbonate. Fill this guy up a little bit more here. That'll do. However, real ales don't do this forced carbonation. They ferment the beer and then they leave the yeast in the beer while they bottle it. And what happens is that after they add a little bit of sugar into the vessel in which it is being carbonated, the yeast continues to ferment the sugars in that beer and it creates a carbonation all on its own. So they don't need to have to do this, forced carbonation method. Back in the days before they had compressed CO2 and everything, this is how pretty much all beers were made. This is also the most popular way to carbonate beer if you're a home brewer. Because home brewers don't have a lot of complicated equipment where they can do forced carbonation, they actually just do cask condition or bottle condition carbonation. And that's why a lot of times you'll have beers that you have people that'll say, oh man, you don't want to drink that little last bit at the bottom because that's pretty much just yeast. And actually on this bottle, it tells you to do just that. So I've said in the past, you know, a lot of people don't like drinking that stuff swirled around, poured in your beer. And I actually have kind of changed my opinion on this. I think if it's like a Zwickel or a Hefeweizen or something like that, and you're actually going to get more like hops or more of the trub from the beer that goes in there, that's just going to add more flavor. However, yeast mostly has like a sour or off flavor taste. It's not going to hurt you to drink the yeast by any means. However, some people just don't like the taste of yeast. It's not always a very pleasant flavor. There is also a real ale lobbying group called Camera, not Camera, what this video is being filmed on, but Camera, the campaign for real ales, Camera. Pretty much just a lobby group to kind of revitalize and keep this type of brewing alive. They have festivals and awards, and these guys actually win quite a bit of awards, although I guess the pool of which you're taking candidates at is also a little bit smaller because, like I said, most people do forced carbonation. One kind of interesting thing I found while I was doing my research is that the proper job is offered in bottles as well as draft, and the bottles have a higher alcohol content than the draft. Proper job out of the bottle is 5.5%. However, from the tap is only 4.5. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about real A's or Camera, then you can check out the link that I will put in the description. Come down to the end of this guy. I'm not going to drink the last little bit because there is a little bit of, fuck it. A little bit of yeast never hurt anybody. All right, so that's the end of that beer. It is the Proper Job Cornish IPA from St. Austell Brewery out of Cornwall, England. It was a real ale. I hope you guys learned a couple of things today about real ales. I hope you guys aren't too tired of me talking about real ales. Like I said, check out the Camera website down in the description if you guys want to learn a little bit more. Please give this guy a thumbs up, subscribe, comment if you guys have any questions or want to recommend anything or just want to say hi. Do that down in the comments for me, and we will see you guys next time on Belay. Peace out!
Just look at it.
Yeah, well.
What the heck is that?